Hey there, and welcome on back. As always, I'm Carl with Targets the Attitude, absent-minded professor of knives and all things sharp. Class is about to begin, so grab your pens and papers, sit on back, and get comfortable. Today, talking about knives for self-defense. That's right, answering a question I get asked all the time. What knife is best for self-defense? Come up to me at gun shows and ask, what do you have that would be perfect for self-defense? The question is a little more tricky than you might think. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and take care of the syllabus work as always, shall we? If you're new to the channel, welcome. Here on Mondays, we do knife basics, what you really need to know. Mainly this is aimed at people who are new to the world of knives, though there is some information handy for those who've been around for a while. It's designed to let you get your feet wet, let you learn some of the basics, so you're not sitting there at a knife shop or somewhere like that trying to get a new knife for your growing collection and going, yeah. What he said. This will help you get a little bit better information, know better what you're talking about. On Fridays, we mainly do knife reviews. Occasionally, I'll do a review of some piece of camping or survival gear, compasses, lights, cooking equipment, that sort of thing, but mainly knives. For those of you who have been with us for a while, welcome on back. I'm glad you could join us. Just got one question for you. And yes, I know, I ask it every week, and I'm going to ask it again. Have you subscribed yet? You haven't. Okay, I know you have, and you have, and you have, and you have, and even down there, it looks like I've got a guy down there in South America. Fantastic. Got a couple up there in Canada. Got a couple over there in Scotland, and a couple over there in Australia. But you haven't yet. Why? It is so simple, man. You just hit that button right down there. It says subscribe. Then you hit the bell next to it. That way you get notified every time I do a neat new video. It's a win-win situation. Win for you because you don't miss any of my videos. Win for me because, let's be honest, the more subscribers I have, the easier it is to get all these neat new things. But on to class. As I say, I keep getting asked people, what is the best knife for self-defense? And it's not really that simple. I mean, okay, yeah, I was a high-ranking brown belt, about 6 months away from testing for black belt when cancer treatment forced me out of the dojo. And I'm still not in any shape to get back into it. But Kempo is predominantly empty-handed. There are defenses against knives, but not a lot of things beyond the knife form that focuses on using knives. I also studied some Kali. For those of you who aren't familiar with Kali, it's one of the Filipino martial arts. There's 3 different terms. Eskrima, Arnis, and Kali. For all practical purposes, they're the same art. It's just which of the 3 main islands in the Philippines you're coming from as to which term you use for it. And I'm not that good at Kali, but I have studied some. And maybe rank as a green belt, if that. So I do know that. But if you're going to get a knife for self-defense, first thing you gotta remember is, if you've never been in a true life or death situation, when you are, the adrenaline rush is going to knock any fine coordination right out the window. Believe me, I've been shot at. I know what I'm talking about. A modern tactical knife is great in that it opens quick and easy as opposed to a more traditional knife. But even this, you get adrenaline gets hidden, and it took me 3 tries because I'm rushing, and that time it didn't lock all the way. Definitely not what you want. So if you're going to get a knife for self-defense, unless you're exceedingly well trained, I'm thinking Marines, some of the so-called special forces, such as Force Recon, definitely Green Berets, Airborne, the Rangers. But if you're that well trained, you don't need to be watching this video. You already know what knife you need. And you're going to have trained to the point where the adrenaline is not going to interfere with your muscle memory. It's just going to hit every time. Those people, they want to use a folding knife for self-defense. Great. I don't have to worry about them being able to open up the knife. Someone who's not trained to that extent, we're starting to get into some problems here. So, some training, but not Marine Corps style training. Where are we going from there? Okay, we've already established you want a fixed blade. Next trick is look at your fighting style. I mean, most people who are street fighters, they're pretty much almost like a sewing machine, in and out, in and out. And you can do a lot of damage that way. In that case, say, don't want the folding knife. The neck knife or small knife like this Blue Otter from Tops. It's got a kind of thick handle, so it's easy to hold on to, even if fear or adrenaline is really screwing with you. It's got a smallish blade, but it's perfect for that sewing machine style in and out. Excellent knife choice. Doesn't have to be a top Blue Otter. Kbar has one called the skeleton knife. Excellent neck knife. Any of the neck knives would do it. You could also use something along the lines of a boat knife or a more standard dagger. A little bigger, but again, for that sewing machine style, in and out, that shape of blade is perfect. But here's the problem. You use a gun for self-defense, and it's obvious that you were justified. It was a case of you or him. The gun is going to go through the courts a whole lot better than a knife will. It's just the way they look at knives. So yeah, a gun is a much better choice for self-defense. But if you have to have a knife for backup, and you're going for the in and out, either of those will work. If you're more of a boxer, or someone who tends to use their hands a lot, probably one of your best bets is a push dagger. There are so many different styles of these, it's amazing. Some are designed to go through between the middle fingers like this one. Some have them more off to the side so that they go through there. Personally, I'd prefer one that is set for between these, your first and second, because, well, let's face it, if you're punching, especially if you're trained to hit with these two knuckles, because the force goes straight down your arm. It doesn't get, unless you do it like this or like this, in which case you suddenly get the force going down and kinking, and all the force stops here in your wrist, and you end up with broken bones as opposed to straight down. You can still get broken bones, but it's better that way. So, yeah. It's with a punch dagger, it's punch. Just very natural. Goes right in with you. Perhaps an even better choice. Kbar makes something called the TDI Line. This was originally designed for police. And yeah, it's more or less a push dagger, or punch dagger would be a better term for it, but that's not the accepted term, with a gun-style grip. This makes it it goes into your hand quite nicely. And again, the whole reason behind Kbar designing this is it can go on your offside or behind your main gun. If you're locked up with someone and they're going for your gun, or just jamming you up so you can't get to your gun, pull this and punch. And since it's very much like I was holding off the side. Since it's very much a pistol type grip, it's just very natural for anyone who has used pistols. It's just beautiful. This particular one has a serrated edge, which I don't really see where a serrated edge is necessary in this thing. They put it on because then supposedly you can use this for cutting seat belts and that sort of thing. So you don't have to have two knives. I'll be honest, that shorter blade with that style of handle, it's not going to be very comfortable for cutting seat belts or other stuff. It's really designed to be drawn and punched when you can't get to your gun. They're a little expensive. I mean, this particular one model is running right around $60. You can get it for as little as $48, but if you go much below that, it's either used or someone's selling you a knockoff. But it's just great. Again, for someone who doesn't have much, if any, training. I mentioned I had training in Kali. Probably the most famous of the Filipino fighting knives is the talon-shaped Krambit. And there's a lot of folding Krambits out there. But we've just established I don't like folding knives because you fumble when the adrenaline hits. So you want one that isn't folding. Here's the problem. Okay. This could be considered a Krambit. Legend has it that the Krambit was designed after the talons of a tiger, so it's kind of curved. The hawkbill from Spyderco or Bird is an excellent example of a Krambit-shaped blade. And of course, TAC Force and MTech and all the blingy knives have Krambits. And you've got some good ones too. Top makes one. Cold Steel makes one. Problem is, the blade tends to be short. No more than 2 to 3 inches. Sometimes even shorter than that. I've seen them with blades as short as 1.5 inches. And the way the blade is shaped is great, because if you know what you're doing, you can come in, grab and lock, grab and lock, and if they have problems, slice the wrist or the neck. It takes a lot more training than I have to use it effectively. Doug Mercada, man, that man would tear you up with a Krambit in no time flat. Some of my instructors, like Nick Dreiling down in Charleston, Master Woodlake out in Texas, these guys can make a Krambit do amazing things. They've had years of training with them. I don't have that much training in Kali to make effective use of a Krambit. For me, it's a neat looking knife that really, in a real world situation, it's not going to do me a lot of good. No matter how neat the knife is, that's just the way it is. If you've got the years of training to make effective use for it, it's one of the most effective self-defense knives out there. Just be warned, it's really only good for self-defense. You're definitely not going to use a Krambit to open up boxes from Amazon or from your beloved knife store. You're not going to be using it to open up envelopes or other pieces of mail. Maybe stripping wires, but again, not that great. For me, with my training in Kali, I want something like this. This particular one is a Russian-made knife. It's the Kissler Supreme Delta Tactical. Beautiful knife. But what makes it nice, first off, the grip is designed. This is how you really control the knife. Nice long blade, so and you can reverse grip very quick and easy. Not that I'd use that much in a real fight, because adrenaline gets rushing through your system, and if you're as out of training as I am, doing the fancy reverse grips in the middle of a fight is not going to do you a lot of good. Admittedly, I might go ahead and start with it in reverse grip for a couple reasons. One, I can use it as a shield so that you're not going to cut my forearm too well or too easily. I can still slice with it. I can still stab with it. And if I get back out of fighting space, I can go ahead and reverse grip to a standard grip, in which case I can do the sewing machine style stabbing. I can do slices easily, and I can still stab. And it's long enough that it feels very much like the Eskrima sticks that I used to practice with. But it's not so long that it's going to cause too much trouble when I'm walking down the street with it. Of course, something even bigger or close to what I used to train with would be this one. This one is Russian inspired, but not actually Russian. Once I get into, it protects the whole forearm. And slice, stab, butt strike. It's even nicer. But you go walking down the street with a knife this long on your belt, cops are going to be stopping you. They're going to want to know why you feel the need to carry a knife this long. Here in South Carolina, they can't really tell you you're not allowed to, unless you're in one or two of a couple towns where the town itself has a law against it. The state doesn't. But it's still going to attract unwanted attention from the police. So that's just not really going to be a great idea. You could go for kukri, which fighting knife of the Gurkhas. Okay, this is not a true kukri. This one is from Kbar. It's Camp 10. But it's got a kukri style blade. This was originally developed as a farmer's knife, for almost a machete for hacking through jungles, or, well, they don't really have jungles in Nepal, but you get what I'm talking about. And believe me, this is going to do some serious ass damage if you start using it in a fight. But again, walking down the street with something this big on your belt, you're asking for unwanted attention, even if it is legal where you live. In a lot of places, I'm thinking New York, Delaware, New Jersey, some areas of California, this will get you arrested. So, definitely not a good idea. But I could keep on going, but we're pushing a half hour. I think you get the point here. Is a knife a valuable self-defense weapon? Well, it's one of the oldest ones, so I can't hardly say no. But I'll be honest, unless you've got extensive training in knife fighting, you're as likely to hurt yourself as your opponent. So if you're going to carry a knife for self-defense, something short and small like this blue otter, something that is easily concealed, can be gotten to quick and easy, and can be used like a sewing machine. That's what I'd recommend. If you've had some training, then you can start talking about some of the others. Or if you're just a natural fighter and used to punching, great. This or this, great knives. Very handy, very minimal training to use them effectively. Folding knife, any folding knife like this, you're asking for trouble. You're asking to be seriously hurt. I'm sorry. I know people are going to disagree with me. But most people who disagree with me have never been in a real fight. And so, yeah. Anyway, as I pointed out, this has gotten a little bit long, so I hope I gave you something to think about. Hope I gave you some useful information. In the meantime, you take care of yourself. I'll leave you with a couple videos over here that I think you might enjoy. And of course, if you want, you can hit this target over here and subscribe. I hope you do. Meantime, you take care of yourself, and we'll see you on Friday when I review another knife. Till then, take care.